Welcome to the Amazon Coaches 4-part training series, how to increase your sales, profit, and income on Amazon using key metrics and proving strategies. This is the training that I consider to be the most vital information you need to have in order to start and scale an Amazon business in the new Amazon ecosystem. All you need to do is pay attention, take notes, and apply these actions to your business to make sure you achieve a sustainable income through Amazon's sales platform. Part 1 of this training is going to focus on how to find profitable products to sell on Amazon and minimize your risk of losing your investment. The first thing I want to ask you is, do you currently have an Amazon private label business? If so, then you're in the right place. Do you struggle to figure out what is going wrong with the business? Do you ask yourself, why don't you get the results you want in your business? Why are you struggling to make sales, profit, and income? And why are you losing money? Or why are you totally confused about why the business loses money? Or why does it feel like the business is just too overwhelming, right? Do these situations sound familiar? Well, great. That's what we're going to cover in this training. If you're brand new to the idea of selling on Amazon, but you're pretty sure you like the idea of creating a sustainable business for yourself while working from home, then I encourage you to go through this training series all the way to the end, as it'll benefit you greatly to know how this business works before you ever jump in. By getting this information right now, you may save yourself a lot of headaches and lost money later. And if the answer is yes to any of these questions, then I definitely think you're in the right place today. As the original Amazon coach, I've worked with well over 1,000 Amazon sellers, and within that vast experience, I discovered the 3 big Amazon FBA business killers and want to share them with you and tell you how to fix them for yourself. All I ask from you is your attention and to take some actions at the end of each video. To be fully transparent, my hope is that you find this training so helpful that you consider the possibility of working together on your business if you need help implementing any of this training so you can grow faster and with more confidence. There's absolutely no obligation on your side to work with me or anyone else though. Does that sound fair to you? Well, great. Let's get started. So here's what we're going to be covering in this video. First, I'm going to show you how to pick products based on what you want in income, not how much the product's going to bring back in sales revenue. I'm also going to be talking about using the right keywords for your research so that you pick the products that actually work based on real data. Then I'll talk about choosing products based on the speed of your return on investment. It's great to have a good ROI, but it also matters how fast the money comes back into your bank account to keep cash flowing and your business healthy. Then I want to talk about how to work out ongoing marketing costs before you ever even order the product from your factory. Chapter 1, pick products based on your income goals, not revenue goals. Before I cover how much money the product will make, let's talk about your investment budget, because you can't be very successful if you can't invest properly. You have to pick products that fit within your budget. You need to understand the cost of goods, the freight cost it takes to ship from wherever your factory is to Amazon, your FBA fees within Amazon, duties and taxes where applicable, launch costs in order to be able to be successful once the product is live on Amazon, and your ongoing ad spend each month, so that once your product is done launching, you can actually foresee how much you'll make after it's live. Also, you have to forecast how much it costs to reorder the product when you're selling at a reasonable volume. Your first order is the most important to your product's success. Always remember this. Right now, I want to go over the effects of improper budgeting, because if you don't set the proper budget, then you're not going to be very successful. One of the effects is that you can run out of stock, and if you have a long out of stock time before your second order comes in, any ranking and sales boost you had from before your launch will die off before you restock, basically wasting all that time and effort you just made. If you order too much inventory and can't market your goods, well, then your goods collect long-term storage fees and your cash flow is dead, meaning your business will not grow whatsoever. Of course, you also have to make sure you know how much everything will cost, because if you never had enough money to properly start the business in the first place, you can't order enough stock to keep ranking from your launch and can't launch goods with any powerful strategy in the first place. The most important takeaway is that you have to invest properly. That means both money and time. So these are some guidelines that I want to give you in order to understand how much money you need to invest and what you should be able to expect from your investment. Using these guidelines, I'm going to explain how your available cash can have an effect on how you're going to launch a private label brand on Amazon. The first column on the left shows what it's like with a limited investment, basically the least amount of investment that we would suggest being the amount of money you need to start with. The number we have there is between $5,000 and $9,000. That may seem like a lot of money, and it is, but compared to any other startup business, it is a much preferred investment versus other business models like flipping houses or a fast food franchise or opening a restaurant or anything like that. And this is a scalable business model where your business can grow exponentially without you putting more time in later. So $5,000 to $9,000 is the least amount of investment we would suggest. Starting with this amount of money, you can get one inexpensive product live and put on Amazon. You will have enough money for some of the marketing, usually most of the marketing. You'll also have some money left over for your reorder. You might have to wait for your product to sell well to add another product though. And you might also have to add a little bit more money just so you can get your first reorder, depending on what part of that scale you are. If you're on the lower side of the 5,000 or the higher side of the 9,000. That may affect how much money you have to inject later. Now, the moderate investment, the middle column there, shows a bit more cash funding to start. We say that's $10,000 to $15,000 right off the bat, and this is a very good position to start with. Most people don't want to put too much in there and risk too much, but this would be a moderate investment, moderate risk as well. So you can get one inexpensive product live, you'll have enough money for the marketing, you'll have enough money left over for the reorder, and you'll possibly have enough money to order a second product as well. So within 2 months to 3 months, maybe you could actually have that second product ready to be shipped into Amazon, for example. Now, in the growth investment, this basically means your cash flow is in really good shape and you have the ability to scale the business quicker. The right column there says $15,000 plus. Usually you can get more than one inexpensive product live. Now, we don't necessarily expect you to launch 2 products at once. We want you to expect to plan for 2 products to be launched within a couple of months of each other though. And that's what you could kind of do with $15,000 or more. And you'll also have enough money to market that product, the first product, and possibly a second one as well. You'll have enough money also left over for your reorders. In that instance, you don't just have to order inexpensive products that cost under $3 to $4. You can maybe go $5 to $7 for some of the products. It just matters how fast that money is coming back. And that's what we talk about with the speed of ROI. Now, you also have to budget your time as well. We all have limited time per day juggling work, family, and Amazon. So if you only have 1 to 2 hours per day, we suggest that this means that you're just going to have to temper your expectations for when you're actually going to achieve an income from the business. So in 1 to 2 hours per day, you can watch training videos whenever you have free time. You can work through action items when possible, and you're going to be slow to grow. In this scenario, it might take you 2 to 3 years to create something that resembles a livable income from this business. That's totally expected. It's an ordinary circumstance, and a lot of people have this happen to them. Now, there's a part-time option where you can work on your Amazon business 3 to 4 hours per day, or maybe you can just catch up on the weekends and spend a bunch of time working on those days, which would mean that you can watch training as instructed through a training program like ours, complete the actions on time, and then you'll have steady growth. For people who work at this rate, they can create something resembling a livable income within 1 to 2 years of getting started. You can take income as soon as your business allows, but it might not be a livable wage. It might be $500 to $1,000 in the first year, let's say. Now, on the full-time Amazon option, you are dedicated to growing the business with the ability to work more than 5 hours per day on it. This would mean you can watch training each week, you'll complete all weekly action items to grow even faster, and you may be able to make a livable wage within a year or so of getting started, maybe 12 to 18 months. Your cash investment would have to be in the right place as well, though. You can't make the business work if you only have $1,000 to start, but you can work 12 hours a day necessarily. There's a bit of time and money power scale here. The more time you have, the quicker you grow. The more money you have, the quicker you can grow. Now, let's get into the product selection mindset as well. The first thing you want to do is set an income goal that you want for yourself. So if you want $5,000 a month, you have to set that income goal for yourself. And you have to understand that the products actually have to have an income goal as well. So not just profit, but how much money do you think you can actually make for yourself? This is something I want you to be very clear on, because you have to understand that if you don't have an income goal for yourself or your product, you'll never know when you're successful. And we'll use data from Amazon to verify potential income. I'll go over this a little bit more in detail later. Essentially, you want to make sure that the data you get from Amazon is verifying that the products that you select can actually pay you at some point. Then you also want to calculate your profitability. You want to calculate the cost of your first order, because a lot of people fail to do this up front. You also want to calculate your launch costs, which a lot of people don't even understand how to be able to do, and that's something we'll cover. You also want to calculate ad costs ongoing, which we'll talk about a little bit in just a minute as well, and we'll also talk about calculating reorder costs. These are the things you need to think about before you ever place an order for a product. If you do not set these goals and understand the costs, the income, and the expenses, then you'll never know if this product will be right for you before you actually order it. This is an example which is taken from a real spreadsheet I use to calculate the viability of a product. I set this up with a budget of $7,500 per product for this example. You can see that in the middle column it says first order budget, and it says $7,500 all the way down. Then I've added all the expenses into the spreadsheet on other columns. And you'll see that in just a second on the left side before I actually get to these columns. Then what you'll see now after all these expenses, including ads, that column there that says total profit per day, percentage after ads, you'll see some of them are green, which means they're over 20%. Some are red, which is below 15%. And some are yellow, which is between 15 and 20%. That basically means that some of these are really going to do well. Having a 20% profit after ads is actually quite good. And that's a number you would really shoot for. That's the number we're looking at here. And the second column says estimated total profit per month after ads. That's how much money I would make after ads from each product. And you can see there, some of them are $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000. And that's great. Because if I only have $7,500 in budget, you can see from the amount that the first order is going to cost and the second to last column there, you can see that some of these are well over my budget. And that's just not going to work. This means that if I actually ordered these products, I wouldn't be able to market them. I wouldn't be able to get them to sell. And I'd probably never see profit in that second column on the left before I ran out of money in my bank account. Basically, if I only have $7,500 to budget, that means I have to kind of steer clear from those really expensive products or really hard to launch products like the bottom two there, which are extremely competitive on page 1. Now, I'd be looking at more products that probably have something like 2,000 to 3,000, maybe 4,000 left over. So if you look at the middle ones there where it says 2,100, 4,400, and 5,800, those are probably the ones that would be a little bit more viable for me with a $7,500 budget. Now, that one that says there's 7,000 over the budget there, the profit margins just don't work out. So I probably wouldn't look at that. That's too low. Therefore, I would just say if it's 7,000 and budget left over doesn't really make sense because I'm going to get 6% profit, that's not worth the effort. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, again, this is a spreadsheet where we go over this in detail with our members, but I just kind of want to give you a snapshot of this as the kind of planning you need to do. From there, you basically prioritize your top opportunities, just like I did in that last example. I said that those 3 middle ones are probably my best 3 opportunities. So the profit margin, ideally before ads, is over 35%. Your ROI is over 150%. Your inventory should last you 3 to 4 months and not more than that, because that means you have cash flow sitting on a shelf at Amazon and it's not coming back to you fast enough to grow your business in a healthy manner. So if you've got 8 months of stock, you've got 4 months of stock too much. And that means your products are not selling fast enough to help your business grow. Also, your profit after ads and all of the fees ideally is 20% or more, just like I showed you in that last example. Your first order plus launch costs leaves room for your reorder of cost of goods as well. You want to have a couple of $1,000s left over from your budget to be able to order products and then possibly help you reorder and launch as well. That's how the profit numbers look to help with the decision of viability after ads. In the full version of the spreadsheet, there are more columns that detail other metrics that help you stay on top of your sales and compete with top competitors. That way, you can estimate your units per day so you can plan out what your target sales will look like when you get the reviews and ranking you are shooting for. And the sheet will help you also work out your sales price against your top competition. And you'll input some data like your estimated cost of goods, freight, and all that stuff to help make all the calculations possible. This spreadsheet that we use is the cornerstone of product selection. And with the right guidance and help, it can be your product analysis workbook that will give you the best idea of what is going to be possible for your products in your business now and in the near future. You'll also see how much money you make per sale, percent profit, and then ROI. When you're all said and done, you can see your monthly sales and your monthly profit. They're the most important numbers, how much money you're going to make, because that directly affects how much money you will make in income. And you'd always prioritize the products that bring you back income to you as the owner of the business at some point in the very near future versus the ones that either don't or bring it too far further down the road. So what you need to do is figure out what numbers are best for you based on the profit per unit, the percent profit ROI, how much monthly sales and how much monthly profit you're getting, and also then factor in the budget. So your first order budget, your budget versus cost, that kind of stuff. If you look at these middle 3 opportunities here, you've got great profit per unit, you've got great profit margin percents, and you've got great ROI with monthly sales and monthly profit. Then you look over on the right side and all of them meet the actual criteria for your budget. And you can see that the bottom 2 of those 3 actually have really good budget to cost ratio. That means you have money left over to launch the product and also reorder the product as well. In this scenario, the middle of those 3 might be your best bet because you get $7,000 in profit from this product once it gets selling to where it's supposed to. You have tons of profit percent and also high ROI. And then the actual budget to your cost is good enough to where you'll have $4,500 left over so you can reorder this product as well. Again, these are real examples of something I've actually put together for my own business. Now, before you get all excited about doing product research, I want to make sure that you have the right research ahead of your first order to set you up for success. That's where we come in on chapter 2, finding the right keywords to properly conduct product research. In order to know whether your budget and your products line up, you need to know how much money it will take before you become profitable. If a product is so competitive that you need to spend $150,000 before you start to make profit, most sellers will run out of money before they ever get to that point, and then they realize that they are in debt and they quit. That means your research has to be on the right keywords to be accurate, and that means the research is done on the main keyword, not some long tail or less searched keyword. The keyword research is critical to getting the right data on your product research sheet because that's how the customer finds a product in real life. And you can't change that habit. You can't make customers look up longer, more complicated keywords to find your product. That's not how they're going to operate. They're simply going to look for the keyword that has just enough words to be as relevant as possible without being confusing. And that's usually the main keyword, and customers are going to buy whatever's on that page instead of searching different versions on that keyword, unless the keyword has too many different types of products, such as iPhone accessories. They're going to look up other things for that. So let's make sure you know what the main keyword is for your product. Here's one good non-computer-based way I would suggest to verify your main keyword. Go out and find 10 to 20 people who know what your product is and what it's used for. Not to say that they necessarily know what it's called, but they know what it is used for. That is your ideal client. For example, if you have a rolling pin that you are looking to sell, ask people who have some competency in the kitchen and with cooking and baking. Show them an image of the product without any text or words on it that give it away, and then ask them, what would they call this? Chances are 60% or more of the respondents will call it the same thing. That's probably going to be your main keyword, but write all the answers down because the other responses may be good as well for secondary keywords that look at for running ads when the product is selling. If less than 50% of the people that you ask say the same thing, then the product may have too many names to call it or it's pretty confusing, and that's bad for you because that means you're going to have to launch with ads on multiple keywords, and it's going to be very confusing what the customer calls it. You're going to spend a lot more on ads. You're going to spend a lot more on launching. It's going to cost you too much time, money, and effort to get legitimate ongoing sales from this. So pick a product that has a very clear main keyword. Use the main keyword to look up the data on Amazon, and it's really that simple. Now, the absolute best computer software for finding your main keywords is the Product Opportunity Explorer for brands that have brand registry on their seller accounts. You can simply look up your product by a simple keyword search and then click on the niche that it's related to, and then click on the search terms to find the customer search terms that are most relevant to your product straight from Amazon's data. I'm going to walk you through an example right now. You come over to the menu and you click down to growth. You hover over it, I should say, and you click on Product Opportunity Explorer. And then what you want to do, and you can already see I've done that, is I type in liquid hand soap refill, for example. And then Amazon's going to give me what they call niche matches over here, customer needs. So it says matching niches for this phrase in the United States. So you've got liquid hand soap refill gallon, hand soap refills, gel hand soap, clear soap, hand soap, lavender hand soap, and so on and so forth. So you can click into these and see which ones are most relevant for your specific product. But let's just click on the first one and see what comes up for those search terms. So if I open this in a new tab, and then what I do is I see that it's got a lot of information on this page and it's kind of overwhelming. However, it's got this tab right here next to products that says search terms. If I click on that, I can see what are the top phrases for liquid hand soap refill, soft soap refill hand soap, and so on and so forth. And those are about the top 20 there. Of course, there are other tools out there for sellers such as Jungle Scout that don't yet have a seller account or aren't brand registered as well. And you can see a link to Jungle Scout with a discount on your first subscription in the description below this video. Chapter 3, planning marketing costs at launch and planning initial stock to make sure you don't run out of money. Now that you know the main keyword and have your product opportunities aligned, let's make sure you order the right amount of stock to keep cash flowing. In this example, you'll see that the spreadsheet has set the daily sales goal on the left side automatically. It's saying that 38 units per day is my daily sales goal. In the first month, I'm not going to have 38 sales per day, though. I'm not going to start at that rate. I'm going to have to build up to that, right? So I need to scale up to that over the next 3 to 6 months. That's kind of our launch plan window. Within 90 to 180 days, we want to try to achieve that sales target. If the sales target is over 30 sales a day, you may decide to just cap it at 30 as your first sales goal, because that's a pretty good first sales per day goal to hit. And anything after that can be planned for later. On most products these days, it's hard to surpass that goal in your first 6 months. To give you an idea of what the first order for your product might look like, you can start to plan out how many sales you have each month for the first 3 to 4 months. For example, in the first month, and you can see there, I might have 456 units. And this is actually calculated in a very clear way on our side of our spreadsheet. And then in the second month, we might have 684 units. And in the third, I might have 912. If you add those up, that's going to be a couple thousand of units. Basically, what we're trying to do is calculate how many units per week and per day that we're going to have at each stage in this growth process to calculate our first order. But that's not all you need to plan for, because remember, you want to launch the product successfully. That means that cost of that order might be around $4,500. So if I was budgeting $7,500, I'd still have roughly $3,000 left after my first order is due. And you can see how that works out for the rest of the spreadsheet as well. Some of them are over budget, some of them are wildly under budget, which is nice. Once you start selling a product, you also need to plan your reorders as well. Let's look at a reorder example, as you need about 3 months of stock on average up front. So let's say you actually hit your goal of 38 units per day by the end of your first order, and that's the average sales per day that you have in order to calculate your second order. You can see that there. On the top line there, you can see that the reorder quantity would be 3,400 units for 3 months of stock, which means the cost per order on that one would be $5,400 roughly. The reason I bring this up is because if your first order is a couple $1,000s, but your reorder is double or triple that, you also keep that in mind, because your product has to sell fast enough to help you pay for that. Or you have to decide that you're going to invest more up front to be able to pay for it yourself. Understanding how to project cost before you even place your inventory order for the first order gives you the best chance for success, because the number one reason sellers fail on Amazon is because they run out of cash to keep the product selling. You need to have a good return on cash flow to keep your ROI rolling over in a healthy way. Then you just need to plan your operating expenses to be sure you can launch. That's pretty much how you plan your launch costs. Chances are you've never done most of these things before, let alone all of them combined, which is no wonder you haven't found the success you want on Amazon. Chapter 4, Product Selection Pro Tips to find products for long-term success. Before I wrap this video up, I want to give you some quick pieces of advice about what products you should focus on, especially if you have a lack of experience or a lack of funds for your business. I think the most important thing I can say is to try to pick products that function great first, and then design them for the ideal client's fashion second. So function first, fashion second. The reason is that if the product is solely based on style or fashion, such as home decor or clothing, then you may never get a sale, as you have no idea whether or not your style is going to be liked by shoppers over what's already out there. Top sellers have been selling for years. You're trying to beat them, but you might not pick the right style. Next, I would say that if you're just starting out or you have a limited budget, pick products that are under $2 in cost to produce, because you don't want to sink a ton of money into your first product necessarily, because if your first product fails and you lose a lot of money, you'll probably quit after the first try. With that, I'd say if you can keep the product and packaging under £1, then you can save yourself a lot of Amazon fees and shipping and storage, as well as freight costs to get the product from China or wherever it is made all the way over to Amazon. Also, I would suggest you don't pick products that break or malfunction easily, because having high return rates or low product star ratings due to bad products, or high breakage due to mishandling during the shipping process, can kill you before you ever even get going. Next, I want to make this very clear. I do not recommend selling bundles of products, because you would likely make more sales and more profit if you just focused on one of the products within that bundle. You generally price yourself out of being competitive by adding extra products into yours if you do this. So just separate the products and sell them separately. Don't bundle them together. I also suggest staying away from color variations as well, because if your product is mostly functional, then one color will always have the best sales, and no matter what you try to do to replicate the success of one color, adding a new color will usually never be close to the same sales, and you'll end up just splitting the sales away from the top selling color in the end. So instead of taking more pie of Amazon overall, you're just cutting up your own slice of the pie. I can't explain everything about product selection to you in one video, unfortunately. However, if you want to dive deeper, click the button below this video to fill out a short questionnaire, and I'll get back to you with a plan of action to help you move your business forward. In the meantime, see if you can take these actions to get started. First, find your main keyword for either your current product or a new product. Set a budget for your product on Amazon for the next 3 to 5 months. Plan your income goal for your next product. Usually $1,000 per product or more is ideal. Then head to the next video in this training.